Good morning. Good morning. I'm Brian Manning, and you're watching the Asylum Answers show where I'm going to answer your questions about winning asylum in the United States. So, I'm Brian Manning. I'm an asylum lawyer. I used to be an asylum officer with the government, but now, as a lawyer, my law firm helps immigrants all over the country to secure their future in America through asylum. All right? I want to answer your questions, but first, say hello. Let me know where you're watching from. Love to see where you guys are at. Hello. We've got DJ Da Bomb on TikTok. Hello on YouTube. How are you guys doing over there? We've got I got a rug. Says hello, Brian. How are you from New York? Good to see you. If I'm not mistaken, are you from? Did we talk or did you chat on here? And you're from Burkina Faso, Ouagadougou? Is that it? Remind me. Lisa says, how are you over on Facebook? Hello, Raphael on TikTok. Welcome. We've got, say, Saret on TikTok. Zenat in says hello from Massachusetts. We've got Defi in California. Welcome to everyone. Let me know where you're watching from. Love to hear where you guys are at. Say hello. Let me know where you are. And I'm going to answer your questions. So start leaving your questions in the comments on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok. I want to answer your questions about asylum in the United States. But before I do that, a couple words about this. Listen, very, very commonly, I see this issue where asylum seekers, they want to talk about things that don't really matter to the asylum officer, both in their written materials in terms of what they say in their application form, what they say in their declaration or personal statement, and then also what they say on the day of their asylum interview. They try to focus all of this on showing the asylum officer that, look, I'm a good person. I have impressive academic credentials. I have a good job. I make good money. Maybe I even own a business in the United States that employs Americans. Maybe you do community service and charity work. Maybe you have won prestigious awards. All of these things, right, that are impressive and that are great and they're important to you. And I get that. It's understandable that people would want to focus on these things to create a favorable impression with the asylum officer, right? To create in the asylum officer's mind the idea that, yeah, look, this is the kind of person that we want in our country, right? I get that. It's completely understandable that you would think that. The problem is that they don't care about that stuff. They don't care, okay? Asylum officers are overworked, all right? They have a huge, massive workload, and they're just trying to get through these cases as quickly as possible. And they don't need to know about that stuff in order to make the assessment about whether you qualify for asylum. They just want to know whether you meet the requirements under U.S. asylum law to win asylum, okay? So all of this stuff about your background, your history, also the country context. A lot of asylum seekers want to spend a lot of time trying to convince the officer about how bad things are in their country, and just to help them understand like the geopolitical context or the societal context and history of their country. But that's not what you should be doing. That's what your asylum lawyer should be doing in their legal brief, okay? They need to be discussing those things and providing country conditions information that discusses all those things. That's for your asylum lawyer to do, okay? You need to focus on you. You need to focus on you, what it is, what's happened to you, why you're at risk in the future, what makes you think that you're at risk, and why you would be at risk. Listen, asylum is complicated. There's a lot of rules. There's a lot of things that come into play, but really there's three basics to every case. There are three main things that the asylum officer really cares about more than anything else. First of all is called past persecution. The officer is going to ask you questions to try to understand whether you have been harmed in the past in a way that is sufficiently severe to rise to the level of persecution in the way that word persecution is defined and used in U.S. asylum law. That's the first thing is there past persecution in your case? The second thing is future persecution, or do you have a well-founded fear of being harmed in the future in a way that's sufficiently severe. If it happens, it'll be sufficiently severe to rise to the level of persecution. And then third is this question of motive, or nexus is the word they use formally in asylum law, but it basically just means like motive. What is motivating the bad guys to want to harm you? Because remember, to win asylum, it's not enough just to show that you've been persecuted or that you will be persecuted. Rather, you also have to convince the asylum officer that this persecution is motivated, at least in significant part, by the fact that you, asylum seeker, possess one of the 5 protected characteristics under U.S. asylum law. Those are your race, religion, nationality, political opinion, and something called membership in a particular social group. Okay, so your efforts, both in terms of your written materials and then what you're trying to express at the interview with your testimony, should focus on these 3 things. You should not be focusing on trying to convince the officer that you're a good person, or that you're smart, clever, or that you've got these prestigious accolades, or any of that stuff. You need to focus on the asylum eligibility requirements. That's what the officer cares about. They feel like you're wasting their time if you start trying to talk about other things that are not relevant to the eligibility analysis. It puts them in a bad mood. It makes them less likely to view you and your case favorably if you're trying to focus on these other things, okay? So you got to know what to focus on at your asylum interview, and it's not talking about how great you are or talking ad nauseum about your country. It's focusing on the asylum eligibility requirements, and the main 3 again are past persecution, future persecution, and motivation or nexus. Okay, that's what the officer cares about. With that, let us go to the questions. All right, let's see what we got. We've got Lisa says, hello, hi from Dallas. Lisa's in Dallas, the Big D. Nice. We got Ahmet, hey there from Turkey. We got K Joseph, who says, hello, driving on I-55. Hope you have just the audio going and not the visual, not the video, because I want you to be focusing on the road, not your phone. Be safe out there, right? We got Demoa Emmanuel says, watching you from Virginia, Alexandria, Virginia. I love Alexandria. It's a lovely little spot next to Washington, D.C. So I spent cumulatively altogether like 2 years in the D.C. area back when I was a diplomat. So before I became an asylum lawyer, as you may know, I was an asylum officer with the government. Hey, Bada Ali, good to see you on TikTok. But before I was an asylum officer with USCIS, I was a diplomat with our foreign ministry, the U.S. Department of State. And as part of that, I did 3 different stints in the D.C. area for training, for like language training and functional job training. So I lived near Alexandria, Demoa, Emmanuel, in 3 different places in Northern Virginia. I love that area. I love Washington, D.C. All right. We got Defi, who says, all right. He says, is the 1-year relocation bar is too long to stay somewhere else or hard to tackle? So I think I understand what you're saying. And let me address it like this. The question is this. Will you be barred from getting asylum in the United States if you were in another country on the way to the United States and you were there for a long time, like let's say a year or more? Will that keep you from winning asylum here? The answer is that no, it doesn't matter. The mere fact that you are in another country doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether you were in that other country for 1 day, 1 year, or 10 years if you didn't have lawful permanent residence there or an offer to get it. So listen, the fact that you were somewhere doesn't matter. What matters is whether you had permanent residence in that country while you were there. So if you were there and you had permanent residence and you were there for 1 day or for 6 months or 2 years or 15 years, if you had permanent residence at any time during your physical presence in that third country, then yeah, you're going to have to deal with what's called the firm resettlement bar under U.S. asylum law. And there's exceptions to that, but it's hard to get around, okay? So what matters is your status in that third country, your immigration status. Okay? By the way, we would like to talk with you. If you want to see if we might be in a position to help you with your immigration case, then you should go to winasylum.com. You can schedule a free consultation. We used to charge for all consultations. Right now, we're offering them for free. I I don't know if that's going to last. We might change that in the new year, but right now they're free, and you can schedule it at winasylum.com. Go to the URL winasylum.com. That's WINASYLUM.com, where you can schedule a consultation with one of our asylum professionals. And listen, I don't personally do many consultations, but I'm doing some right now. I've got a little bit of availability on my calendar right now. With me, there is a fee. To speak personally with me, we charge $350. If I keep doing consultations, once we get into the new year, it's going to go up to $450. But right now it's only $350 if you want to talk personally with me for up to 50 minutes, 50. But to talk with one of my colleagues, one of our asylum professionals, it's free for us to do this analysis, to really get to know you, get to know your immigration goals, your situation, understand your case, and then tell you whether we think that we're in a position to help you increase your chances for asylum success. If we think that we can do that, we're going to explain to you how. We're going to set forth concretely a plan that we call our asylum action plan of how we're going to help you present the strongest case possible. Okay. And you can schedule that consultation at winasylum.com. That's WINASYLUM.com. Okay. Ahmet says, I'm an atheist. My dad's part of a radical Islamic group in Turkey. I was sent to Islamic schools when I was a kid. I got threatened as well. What are the chances for me? The question then, Ahmet, I'm sorry to hear about this hardship, this difficulty. The question is this: do you have a good chance for winning asylum as an atheist if you're from a predominantly Muslim country? Well, just being from a predominantly Muslim country would not be enough. But if you're from a place where there's a lot of problems with fundamentalists and extremists who tend to harm people who are not following the religion as they think that it should be followed, then yeah, that could make for a good case. First of all, it starts with you personally. Have you personally had problems because of this or been threatened because of it? That's going to help and make a difference in your case. But it is sometimes possible to win these cases even if you haven't yet had problems with it. Like, for example, sometimes people come to the United States and then renounce their religion or change religions, and that can put them at danger. Even though they've never been harmed or threatened, they might still have a viable case depending on where they're from and what the country context is like in terms of persecution against people who have done that for religious reasons. So we should talk to see if we think we can help you. Go to winasylum.com, WINASYLUM.com. Okay. By the way, Ahmet, was that you? Did you just say that you were in Turkey? So actually, yeah. If you're in Turkey right now, then it's not a good time to talk. We only do consultations with people who are in the United States already. But if you're in the United States, then go to winasylum.com. That's WINASYLUM.com to schedule a consultation. Okay. Oh, how lovely. Ernesto Medrano says, hello. I want to wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thank you. Very kind. You too. Zenat says, hello, Brian. Can PTSD on a significant scale and trauma along with physical injury help you in an asylum case to show past persecution? If that's happened to you, Zenat, I'm really sorry. I'm sorry to hear about what you've been through, and I hope that you're getting the help you need to start healing. Okay. So the question is this: can psychological harm that's inflicted on you that results in things like PTSD or other psychological challenges, can that be helpful to win your asylum case? Does it help you to show that the harm that you suffered in the past is sufficiently severe to rise to the level of persecution as that word is defined under U.S. asylum law? Yes, is the answer. Listen, in making the persecution analysis, the officer considers all forms of harm, both physical and emotional/psychological. And they actually sort of combine them all together. So if you have several different things that have happened, none of which by itself is maybe super, super, super severe. Well, if you consider that all together, there's been a lot of these kinds of incidents or multiple, then those can be sort of combined or cumulatively enough to get you over that persecution threshold. So yeah, you do want to be aware of and document and present any kind of psychological harm that you suffered. Okay. All right. Oh, interesting. THBC says, the Minister of Immigration is intervening in my asylum case. What to do? Wow. What do you mean by that? What country, if you're comfortable saying on publicly, and how are they intervening? I'd be curious to hear about that. Without more information, THBC, I can't really speak to that issue, but yeah. Sink or Chink, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing it, Yama says, do you help with religious cases from Turkey for non-believers? The question is this: does my law firm help people from Turkey with religion-based cases for asylum? Absolutely. From Turkey, we tend to see cases that are based predominantly either on political opinion or religion, and sometimes there's kind of some overlap between those two areas, or they're often both found in the same case. And yeah, absolutely. You asked specifically about religion. Yeah, there's cases like that where we have had success, and we know these cases well. We've handled a lot of cases from Turkey. We like helping people from Turkey. And so we should definitely talk, though, to see if we think that we're in a position to help you in your particular case. You can schedule a consultation by going to the URL winasylum.com. Type in your browser WINASYLUM.com, and that's where you can schedule a consultation. Right now, they're free. We might start charging. We used to charge. We might start charging again. Right now, they're free. Winasylum.com. Okay. All right. Nice. Very nice. Good question. Freedom on YouTube says, "Hi Brian. Will misrepresentation about the purpose of visit as a visit to come and seek asylum be excused?" I get what you're saying. The question then is this: will having lied to the visa officer at your U.S. visa interview about your intention in coming to the United States keep you from getting asylum? So listen, very often people have to lie to get out of their country and to get somewhere safe. And at their visa interview, they'll say at a U.S. embassy or consulate abroad, they'll say, "Oh, I just want to go for tourism, or I'm going to be a student, or I'm just going to visit for a little while, visit family, and then I'm going to come back in a couple of weeks or whatever." And then they go and they apply for asylum, right? The question is, can that hurt you in your asylum case? Thankfully, the answer is no. Asylum officers are taught that this is just something that is necessary to escape persecution, and they will not hold it against you. However, when they ask you, have you ever lied or misrepresented anything to a U.S. immigration official, you need to say yes if you've done this and explain it. Then you'll be fine. But if you say no, they'll see that as a lie, lying about having lied, and that's a problem. Okay? That's actually like a trick question that they often do. Usually it's at the end of the interview where they say, have you ever lied or misrepresented anything or been untruthful in any way to a U.S. immigration officer or in connection with any kind of application for any U.S. immigration benefit? And the asylum seeker is usually just thinking I think that they're thinking at that point, no, I didn't lie about my asylum case. All this is true. I really fear being harmed. Everything I said is true. So I'm going to say, no, I've never lied. But the officer is asking about whether you've ever lied to a U.S. immigration official, not just in your asylum case. And so if someone says, no, I've never lied, then they say, well, I have on my screen the notes from the visa officer when you did your U.S. visa interview, and they said that that you told them that you were just going for 2 weeks for tourism to the U.S. But then today you told me that at the time that you left your country, you were planning on coming here to seek asylum because you were fleeing persecution. Those two things don't match up. It's an inconsistency. And when that happens in your case, if there's multiple inconsistencies, they can deny you. They can say, oh, there's too many inconsistencies in your case, and therefore you're not credible, therefore you're denied. That's the go-to that asylum officers love to use to deny people, is this, oh, too many inconsistencies in your case, all right? They love to use that when they want to deny someone, but they can't really justify it legitimately. They try to sort of play word games with you and trick you and trap you and make you commit these little errors so they can say, oh, inconsistency. Okay, so you got to be careful. We got Wutie says, or Wutie says, hello from NYC, the greatest city in the world, according to the musical Hamilton. It is a great city. I love New York. Vibor Araya says, I just had my interview last day, but confused for decisions. You mean you had it yesterday, your interview? Wow, I hope it went well. And you're confused about the decision. So let's address it like this. The question is this: when are you going to get your asylum decision after your asylum interview? When are you going to get it, and how are you going to get it? Well, listen, at the end of your asylum interview, the officer should tell you about this. They should say, they're going to tell you either you need to come back here to the office in 2 weeks to pick up your decision, which will be a letter, or don't come back. We're going to mail it to you. And this, whether you're asked to come back in or whether you're going to get it in the mail, depends on various factors. Usually the main factor is how far away you live from the asylum office, but there's sometimes just like random weird things that come into play. But they'll tell you that, okay? And if they say they're going to mail it to you, it's probably going to be at least 2 weeks. Honestly, it's probably going to be several weeks. Honestly, it could even be months. It could even be years. That doesn't mean there's any problem with your case. But listen, if you filed for asylum multiple years ago, if you applied multiple years ago, and then you're waiting still for your decision after your interview, you can sue to force them to give you that decision. Okay? I talk about this thing called a Mandamus lawsuit all the time, and usually it's in the context of suing the government to force them to give you an interview. But listen, you can also sue to force them to give you your decision. So after your interview, if there's a delay in getting you to the decision, you can sue. And the operative time frame for determining whether the delay is significant enough that you have a good chance to win this case, we're not looking at the time between the interview and today. We're looking at the time between your application and today. If that is at least 3 years or more, then you're in a pretty good position to to have success with suing the government to force them to give you your decision. Okay. All right. Can you win? I'm going to address part of your question here where you say, Jink, can you say, can I win asylum without warrants or consent? So the question is this: if you're afraid of your government persecuting you, harming you, can you win asylum even if you don't have any proof that they're actively seeking you out? Like, for example, if they've never issued an arrest warrant or tried to arrest you, can you still win asylum? And the answer is yes. You can do it you can win based on things that have actually happened in your particular case. Like if you've been harmed, of course, that helps with an asylum case. Or if you've been threatened and they're saying we're going to harm you, then that obviously is a significant factor in your case. But also country conditions information that shows that the government often persecutes and goes after people like you. That is very powerful. We call this country conditions information. It's things like reports from non-governmental organizations, from governments, or news articles and things like that show that, yeah, someone like you is at risk. So the answer is, yeah, you can still possibly win asylum, even without this sort of direct problems or direct, arrest warrants. Okay. All right. Does re-election of the same government who persecuted you in your native country help to show the risk of future persecution? It helps your case, the fact that they're still in power. If they were not in power, then, if another government was elected, then that would hurt your case because it would probably make the officer think, well, the bad guys are not in power, so they're not going to hurt you anymore. But let's address it like this. The question is this: what happens if you've been harmed by a government, a certain political party that runs the government in your country, but then there's elections and it changes and the opposition becomes the government, so the government, the people that harmed you and that you fear are no longer in power. And it looks like they're probably not in a position to harm you because they don't control the security services anymore. They don't control the police, the military, any of that. Are you going to lose your asylum case? Well, there is a challenge here. It's called a changed circumstance, right? So you can win asylum if you can convince the officer that, no, you're still at risk, either from the new government or from private actors, like the old guys from the government are now private actors, as long as you can show that the new government is either unable or unwilling to control them or to basically protect you. Or you can win based just on past persecution if it's really, really, really severe. But we should talk in detail about your case. Okay? Go to winasylum.com to schedule a consultation. Do that now, okay? Actually, I just checked our calendar, and we do have some spots open next week. We're often booked 2 or 3 weeks out because there's a lot of demand. A lot of people need help, especially in the current moment with Trump coming into office. There's a lot of concern, a lot of worry, a lot of fear, honestly, and rightfully so, because it's about to get ugly. Right now we have a little bit of availability for consultations, so take advantage of that. Go to winasylum.com. And I actually am personally doing some consultations in the next couple of weeks. If you want to talk with me personally, those do cost. Our consultations with my colleagues, with our asylum professionals, are free, but with me, there's a fee of $350. But I checked, and I do have a little bit of availability in the coming week. So if you want to take advantage of that, let's do it, right? Go to winasylum.com. We would love to talk with you and see what's going on, and tell you whether we think that we're in a position to help you. Okay. I have one slot available tomorrow on Saturday at 11 a.m. U.S. Central Time, so noon Eastern Time, 10 a.m. Mountain Time, and 9 a.m. on the West Coast, like in California. So if you want to talk with me, you can take advantage of this opportunity and go to winasylum.com and book your consultation. Okay. I hope you'll do that. All right. What do we have in the way of questions? Biniam Imaru says, I'm a student and arrived a few days ago, and I'm planning to ask for asylum. Not sure where to start, and do I need to start my class? Good questions. Well, welcome, and we wish you all the best. No, you don't have to go to school to pursue asylum. It doesn't matter whether you end up going to school, but if you don't go to classes, then you'll be in violation of your student visa, and you won't be able to go back to school for a while. It's a little bit tricky, but it's like, what I want you to know is that not going to school, that will not negatively affect your asylum case. Okay. Not sure where to start. Well, for starters, listen, if you think actually, let's do it like this. The question is this: if you're thinking about pursuing asylum in the United States, thinking about applying for asylum, but you're not sure where to start, like how to get get started, what should you do? Well, first of all, you should get a lawyer, right? The approval rates for people with lawyers are much higher. A lawyer can take a lot of the stress out of this for you and really help you to present the strongest case possible. Don't hire an immigration lawyer, hire an asylum lawyer, someone with deep experience who focuses every day, all day on asylum. That's my recommendation. Now listen, some people it's just not realistic. They can't afford a lawyer. If that's the case, go to my YouTube channel and check out our playlist. Go to the playlist and search for asylum interview. Well, I've got lots of playlists that you need to watch. Lots of really detailed tutorials and trainings that are going to help you improve your chances for winning your case. Go to YouTube and search for political asylum lawyers. That's the name of my YouTube channel. Okay. That's where you should start. And then you want to apply for asylum, and you want to do that. I think the sooner the better. In general, I think that's true, but also especially now, given the Trump factor, I think it's going to be, with every month that goes by, I think it's going to be increasingly difficult to win asylum. Okay. Because I think that there's going to be policies that Trump puts into place that are going to make it harder to win asylum, but then it's also just going to be this anti-immigrant atmosphere that is going to be increasingly oppressive and make it harder and harder, I think, to win asylum. I think approval rates are going to go down with every month that Trump is in office. Lisa says, if my asylum is granted, can I immediately bring people on my application? The question is this: if your asylum case is approved, if you win asylum, can you then immediately bring family members over to the United States based on your asylee status? Well, listen, you're eligible to petition for your spouse as well as any children who were under 21 at the time that you applied for asylum and who remain unmarried. They're eligible to come here based on your asylee status, but it's not going to be quick, unfortunately. You have to file what is called Form I-730 with USCIS. The average processing time for that, last I checked, was like 18 months or something. It takes a long time. Sometimes you can ask to expedite it, like if your family is in danger abroad under certain emergency circumstances, you can get it expedited. But yeah, usually it takes a while. And then your family has to go to an interview at the U.S. Embassy or consulate, and then they get permission to come here. So yes, you can for those people, but it's probably going to take a long time. Okay. Okay, Belyadan says, if I served as a prosecutor in a formal dictatorial regime, I'm afraid to go back because the government changed. I never persecuted anyone with my position, but would USCIS assume that I did? And good question. The question is this. If you used to work for a government that persecuted people, let's say maybe you were in the military or the police, or you were a prosecutor, and the government that you worked for did bad things, but you didn't personally participate in these bad things. Is it going to be hard to win your asylum case? Like, is USCIS going to just assume like, hey, you were one of the people in that government and that government was doing bad things in positions like yours? We're convinced that you probably did it too. Therefore, you're going to be barred from asylum here under what they call the persecutor bar. You're going to get a lot of questions about it is the answer. You're going to get a lot of questions, and you're going to have to explain in detail, what you did and what you did not do. And basically, I guess the bottom line is, yeah, there's going to be suspicions, but it's not going to be impossible to overcome it. I've seen it. We've helped clients that were in this position to win. Okay, but it's going to be an issue. You got to be ready to approach it thoughtfully and carefully. If you don't have a lawyer, I strongly recommend Belyadan that you get an asylum lawyer to help with, especially with this tricky case. Okay. I'm located in Chicago. I applied for asylum with a lawyer and paid $6,000. Can I hire you before I go to the interview? Good question. The question is this. Can you hire my law firm to represent you, even though you already applied for asylum with another lawyer? Maybe you still have that lawyer. Can you hire us to sort of take over your case and go to the interview with you? Well, yeah, you can change lawyers. We wouldn't really do anything to help you while you still have the other lawyer. But if you want to hire us to take over, yeah, there's a lot that we can still do to help you improve your chances for success. Even though you already applied, there's 3 phases. First is we're going to submit what I call an asylum roadmap, is a packet where we're explaining your case on paper. It consists of a declaration, evidence, and a legal brief that we write. By the way, your current lawyer almost certainly will not write a legal brief in your case. It's a huge mistake, huge missed opportunity. The second phase is preparation. We're going to do a mock interview, practice interview from beginning to end, so that you know exactly what to expect on the day of the real interview, and then a follow-up session as well. Third is representation. Yeah, we can represent you, make sure your rights are protected, make sure the officer understands why you should win asylum. So we should talk, even if you already have a lawyer. If you're interested in changing lawyers, if you're not happy with your lawyer. Listen, I'm not saying that if you're happy with your lawyer, great. If you think they're positioned to really help you, give you the best possible chance to win your case, then that's great. But if you don't think that, then maybe we should talk about in more detail about the things that I just told you that we do for people to help them increase their chances for success. And you can do that with us by scheduling an asylum strategy session with one of our asylum professionals. And you do that at the website winasylum.com. It's WINASYLUM.com. Again, winasylum.com. Okay. All right. Is it a good idea? Eunice Zadron says, is it a good idea to apply for a U visa even though I have a strong defense of asylum? My friend told me prosecutor can terminate my asylum case with U visa. You got to stop spamming us though, Eunice. Stop asking. Stop. Don't paste your question over and over again. That gets you put in timeout. Listen, if you have a viable U visa case, you should pursue it. If there's an immigration lawyer who focuses on U visas, who has assessed your case and has told you, I think there's a good chance for success with the U visa, then you should pursue that along with asylum. Okay. Yeah. Is the application for a U visa likely to end up getting your asylum case dismissed from immigration court? I think it's unlikely, especially under Trump. It's going to be very unlikely. Okay. Good question. Agatarog says, is it safe to travel with refugees travel document under the Trump administration? I don't know. I don't know. I think so. I think with a refugee travel document, by the way, everyone, this is not to be confused with an advance parole document. If you're an asylum seeker, if your case is still pending with USCIS, and you apply for and get an advance parole document, that's different than having a refugee travel document. Refugee travel document is for someone who has already won asylum, and for refugees who came here as a refugee, but also for people who already won asylum, they get a refugee travel document. Refugee travel document, I think it's okay. I think it's okay to travel abroad under Trump. Listen, be watching the news, and if you are following immigration law on my YouTube channel and everywhere else, you can find information and updates in case we start seeing that people are having problems with that. I don't think they're going to have problems with the refugee travel document getting back in. But there's at least a little bit of risk. Yeah, there's some risk. Okay. Okay. If you are, Gorab says, I applied for asylum in 2015. No update yet. But I already have a green card now for my husband. Should I do anything with that a pending asylum case? Does it affect when I apply for citizenship? The question is this: what should you do if you've applied for asylum, but then you end up getting a green card, a permanent residency, right? Through, let's say, marriage to a U.S. citizen. Do you need to do anything with regard to your asylum case? And will that pending asylum case possibly affect you when it's time to go apply for U.S. citizenship? Well, listen, I would say that under the Trump administration, I would probably wait to withdraw your asylum claim until you have your 10-year green card. Your 10-year green card, which is different than your what we call your 2-year green card, right? Most cases are getting people are getting first a kind of a limited green card, and then you have to go back and request to remove the conditions on it before the 2-year mark. And that phase, sometimes people get denied, okay? Because they think, oh, we think it's a fake marriage, and they don't renew it and they take it away. That would be good to have your asylum case pending. So don't withdraw your asylum until you get your 10-year green card, okay? Will the pending asylum case negatively affect your eventual citizenship application or process? No. Whether you decide to leave it open and pending or whether you withdraw the asylum claim, neither of those things will affect your your citizenship process later. Okay. Wuchi says, I missed your seminar in New York City last Sunday. Will there be another seminar in New York City? Oh, nice. He's talking. Yeah. So I participated in a seminar for the Burmese community. Listen, reach out to Chris, of USIRD. Reach out to Chris from USIRD and ask him for the special URL, the special website landing page that I made for people that are coming from USIRD, and book your consultation through that landing page so that we'll know that you came from USIRD, because I want to know that. I want to be sure that it gets a certain special attention. So reach out to Chris, schedule the consultation. But the question is, am I doing another seminar for New York? Nothing planned right now, but maybe some podcasts with Chris and the USIRD team soon. Okay. All right. So we have a similar question to the green card one that we talked about a second ago. This one is from Chizzy on YouTube. It says, must one close a pending asylum if you file for adjustment of status through marriage to a U.S. citizen? Good question. Thanks for asking. The question is this: do you need to withdraw your asylum claim, your pending asylum case with USCIS, if you end up applying for a green card for permanent residency through your marriage to a U.S. citizen? The answer is no, you don't have to. In fact, I recommend that you do not do that unless and until you get your green card in your hand. In fact, I would say unless and until you get your 10-year green card. Usually it's issued first for 2 years, and then you have like an interview where they assess again at 2 years whether they think it's a real marriage and whether you're still married. And then they give you, if they say, okay, it looks good, they give you a 10-year green card. Under Trump, I would wait till you get the 10-year green card to withdraw your asylum claim, okay? And don't do it before then. That's my recommendation, okay? You definitely don't have to do it. I recommend that you not do it until you have withdrawal, that is, your asylum claim, until you have that 10-year green card based on marriage in your hand, okay? All right, what do we got? Well, good question. Do I have to show my EAD to employers? I don't want them to see that I'm an asylum seeker. I unfortunately showed them my EAD. That's a good question. I've never considered that. No one's ever asked that. I can't really think of any alternative. I can't think of a way to convince most employers that you have permission to work without them being able to tell that it's based on your pending asylum case. I can't think of any good ways. Let me think about that though. Maybe I'll make a video or at least a YouTube short about that. So watch out for my shorts in case I could come up with something. Okay. Okay. We got Biniam Emiru says I'm living at North Carolina. Nice. Okay. Trong Lee Von says I want to seek asylum at the airport, especially airports in California. All right. Let's see. Let me address that. So, let's address it like this. The question is this: can you and should you ask for asylum when you arrive at the airport in the United States? Yes, you can. When you go through immigration and the officer's like, hey, the Customs and Border Protection officer like, hey, what's the purpose of your trip or whatever? You could say, I fear being harmed in my country and I want to seek asylum. What happens? If you do that, you're going to be detained at least for a few hours, probably overnight, maybe for several days, maybe for multiple weeks, sometimes even longer. And you're going to have a credible fear interview. And if that goes well, you're going to be put into normal deportation proceedings where you're fighting your case in immigration court. Contrast that with a scenario where someone comes through the airport and gets into the country, goes through immigration, gets into the country, and then at some point they file what's called an affirmative asylum application with USCIS. Most people would think that that's favorable because you don't get detained and you have an asylum interview first rather than going straight to immigration court proceedings. So most people would think that the second option is better. I'm not telling you which to do. I'm just telling you how the process works. Yeah, that's what I'm telling you. All right. All right. Nice. Asterisk Alliance says, what's your live stream schedule? I don't have one. You may have noticed. I'm going to have one in the new year though. That's a New Year's resolution for me, is have a live stream schedule, set schedule where I do it every time at that time. Yeah, I don't have one yet. All right. Good question. VMView says, Brian, do you think the Trump administration will mandate interviews for AOS, even though they interviewed already an asylum office? The question is this. Is it likely that the Trump administration will start doing interviews for all adjustment of status cases when it's based on asylum? So adjustment of status is when you apply for the green card. How it currently works is usually you don't have an interview. When it's based on asylum. If you win asylum, then you're eligible to apply for a green card. Usually USCIS does not do an interview for that green card. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, but usually they don't. Is it likely that Trump is going to start requiring interviews for those? Actually, there's a decent chance. Yeah, there's a decent chance. last time they did, the Trump administration previously did require interviews for a lot of things that didn't previously normally require interviews. They basically just want to find ways to gum up the system to make it last longer and make it more painful and harder for immigration benefit seekers, including asylees. So I'd say there's a decent chance that will happen. Freedom says, hi, is it the same for misrepresentation at the airport, saying that you're going for a visit while it is for seeking asylum? I think you're asking about what I was explaining earlier, Freedom, about telling a visa officer, like, oh, I'm going for tourism. Does the same thing apply at the airport? Yes, it does. So at your asylum interview, when they say, have you ever lied or misrepresented your intentions or anything like that to an immigration officer, even if you didn't do that in a visa interview, but you did do it to an immigration officer upon entering the United States, then you should say yes, I have. I'd explain what happened, and you'll be okay. Okay, but sometimes they don't ask you when you come through immigration at the airport. Sometimes they don't say, what's the purpose of your trip, or why are you here, or like they don't. Sometimes they don't. Usually they do, but sometimes they don't. So if they did and you misrepresented yourself, then yes, you should say that at the asylum office. Okay. Rick Kahn says, your videos are worth watching. I personally gained quite an insight. Thank you. Appreciate you taking the time to comment on that. Im Bashar says, why are some people getting their asylum interview faster than others? Good question. Let's address it like this. The question is this: why are some people getting their asylum interviews faster than others? So listen, everyone knows that there's people in the United States who've been waiting years for an interview, 3, 4, 5, 10 years for an interview. Yet what we've been seeing recently is that a lot of people who are applying are getting their interviews right away, within like 1 or 2 or 3 months. Why is that? It has to do with the scheduling priorities, the rules that USCIS follows for how they schedule interviews. It's kind of complicated, but the bottom line is it has to do with the fact that there are fewer people coming to the southern border in recent months because of changes the Biden administration made. There's fewer people coming to the border, which means fewer credible fears being done by asylum officers, which frees up asylum officers' time to do what are called affirmative, like normal asylum interviews. And now when an application comes in, as long as there's availability on the calendar, they schedule it. So that's why a lot of people now are getting their interviews right away. So you got to be ready if you're applying now. Okay. Oludumare Olorun says, can I get a case dismissed or get adjustment of status in court? Actually, you know what? It's tricky. It's tricky. I don't know what your case is based on. That's a tricky scenario that we'd have to get a lot of details from you to be able to assess. Okay. All right. Effect. Nice. Very nice. All right. Okay. Abdul says, I attended my master calendar hearing and the judge told to my lawyer your case is well established. Good. Glad to hear it. Do you have a question about that? All right. Abdul says it's based on the severity of your case. Abdul, I think that was an answer to why are some people getting their asylum interview. The question, why are some people getting their asylum interview faster than the other? So let me address that because this is important. Here's the question. Is it true that the scheduling of your asylum interview, like how fast it happens after you apply, has to do with how good of a case that you have based on what they can tell from your application materials, or possibly based on how severe the things that you say have happened to you in your country in fact were? Does that affect who gets interviews when? No. Not at all. They don't look at all at the merits of your case or the substance of your case at all in scheduling interviews. It There's like a set of rules that they follow in scheduling interviews, and this stuff about like your underlying case has nothing to do with it. All right. But it is true that a lot of people now are getting their interviews very, very quickly within a month or two of applying. So you got to be ready. You got to be ready to present your case in writing on paper and then prepared to explain it at your asylum interview. Right. VMView, is it a good idea to submit the AOS application before Trump takes office? I mean, listen, the sooner the better in general, because I think that with every month that Trump is in office, actually, hold on. I want to address it more formally like this. The question is this. Is it a good idea to submit your immigration application for asylum or for adjustment of status before the Trump administration takes office? Listen, in general, the sooner that you can have your case considered and get a decision, the better. I think the better for your chances of winning. With the Trump effect, the Trump factor, listen, I think with every month that Trump is in office, it's going to probably be harder and harder to win these immigration cases. I think the approval rates are going to go down, down, down with every passing month probably. Is there a distinction, though, between like January 19th before Trump takes office and January 20th when he's in office? Probably not. I don't think there's going to be. Let me limit this to asylum. Let's say in the asylum context, I don't think there's going to be a sharp distinction between the way that a case submitted on January 19th is treated versus January 20th. But in general, yeah, the sooner the better, because it is going to get harder, I think, over time. Okay. "23 Drone View says, is it possible to expedite individual hearing, which is scheduled in 2026? If yes, how? Here's the question is this. Is it possible to speed up or expedite your scheduled hearings in immigration court? Listen, when we're talking about the first hearing, what's called the master calendar hearing, you can usually get that canceled entirely by doing what are called written pleadings and submitting a motion to the judge that says, look, judge, we already did in writing what we would normally do in person on that day. Therefore, we don't need to have that hearing. So can you please cancel it and schedule the individual hearing? That will speed things up. Now, if you're talking about your individual hearing and it's set way out in the future and you want to hurry up and get it sooner, yeah, you can ask to move it forward based on like urgent humanitarian grounds if there's some kind of like emergency circumstance that you're facing, but it very rarely works. The judges usually do not agree to that. Sometimes a lawyer might be able to find someone with whom they can actually just like switch dates with like another lawyer's client, but that can be tricky to work out as well. Okay, so usually the bottom line is it's really hard to get that done. Unlikely. So I didn't write a declaration, a legal brief case with my current lawyer for a year. I'm waiting for 1 year and I didn't submit any evidence or declaration to USCIS. Does it hurt my case? Here's the question is this. Do you need to submit your declaration and your evidence and legal brief up front with your asylum application, or is it okay to do so later? And if so, if you can do it later, how late can you do it? It's okay. You don't need to submit all that up front. Okay. We don't do that at my law firm. We think there's strategic reasons to get the application filed quickly, and people usually want to because the sooner that you apply, the sooner you're eligible to get your work permit, right? So we focus on just the application packet first. Next step, phase 2, is we call the asylum roadmap, which is the declaration, evidence, and legal brief. And we do that later. I think it's ideal to get it done soonish, within a couple months after filing the application, but it's okay. If you haven't done that yet, it's okay. You can do it really at any time before your asylum interview. So it's okay to not do it right away or even that soon afterwards, okay? Better late than never. And no, I don't think it'll hurt your case, okay? By the way, can't believe I've gone this long today without mentioning this. We're offering a discount through the end of the year on our Mandamus lawsuits. This is where you sue the government to force them to give you your interview if you haven't yet had your interview, or to give you your decision if you've already had your interview but you're waiting for your decision. If the government's if you've been waiting for multiple years in your case, you can sue the government to force them to take action. It's an extremely effective tool. It works extremely, extremely well. We've had a lot of success with it. We've filed over 100 of these lawsuits in the last, I don't know, maybe year and a half. And we haven't lost one of these cases yet. Listen, let me tell you that past performance does not guarantee future results, but I tell you this to emphasize, to highlight that, yeah, it's an effective, powerful tool that we've had a lot of success with, and our clients love it. All right. We're offering a discount of $500 just on this service, no other kind of services, just this asylum delay lawsuit, only through the end of the year. All right. Our consultation spots are filling up quickly. If you want to talk with us and consider doing this before the end of the year, hiring us for this, before the end of the year, you should go now and schedule the consultation right now. All right. Also, we're going to be closed for a week after Christmas. Starting December 24th. Or more than a week actually. So if you want to get this done and potentially hire us to help you in your asylum case, you should schedule the consultation right now. And especially if you want to take advantage of this discount of $500 off of our asylum delay lawsuit service, go schedule a consultation right now. You can do that at winasylum.com. Go to winasylum.com, winasylum.com. All right. Freedom says, thank you. Your advices and videos helped me a lot and won asylum. I love, thank you for mentioning that. I love when people say that on this, come on YouTube and say, hey, I watched your videos and it really helped me and I won my case. Thank you. I'm glad that we were able to help you. Even though you're not our client, you got a lot of value, it sounds like, from watching our YouTube channel, the detailed tutorials and trainings that we have there. Go to YouTube and search for Political Asylum Lawyers. That's the name of my YouTube channel, Political Asylum Lawyers. And there you're going to find lots of really detailed tutorials and trainings about all kinds of stuff related to asylum. It's going to help you to present the strongest case possible to secure your future in America through asylum. Okay. Bertrand, sorry for the mispronunciation. My individual hearing is in February. Could the new immigration changes affect my hearing? I don't listen. I don't know. I don't know for sure, but I don't think there will be anything formal in terms of the way that the government interprets the asylum laws or formal policies. They're going to make it harder for you to win. But with every passing month, I think there's going to be a more greater anti-immigrant bias and influence and impact in the asylum office and the immigration courts. I hope it's not going to be too bad by February, but you just got to present the strongest case possible. All right. VMView is one of our clients. Nice. Says, Brian, thanks for clarifying AOS. I'm planning AOS contract now as you guys helped me to win my asylum case after Mandamus. Amazing team, especially, where's the next message? Amazing team, especially what or who? What were we going to say after that, VMView? Thank you for commenting. Yeah, so VMView on YouTube is one of our clients, apparently, that we helped win their asylum case after we sued the government in a Mandamus lawsuit to force the government to give them their asylum interview. All right. So listen, go to winasylum.com to schedule a consultation right now. All right. Winasylum.com, winasylum.com. That's going to wrap it up for today. I'm Brian Manning. I'm an asylum officer. I'm an asylum lawyer now. I'm a former asylum officer, and my law firm helps immigrants all over the country to secure their future in America through asylum. As always, it's a pleasure and honor to support you in your asylum journey. Have a great weekend, everyone.